Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood. As we continue this From the Graves month, talking dead, slimy creatures coming out of the ground, causing havoc, maggots all over their face, and ripping up body parts, feeding their internal lust of flesh. Up next, if y'all like big Roman castles with couples goals in there just to have some sex all around the castle. If y'all like casually walking zombies who carry around weapons of mass destruction, as in Russian sickles. And if y'all like a 20-year-old kid trying to suck on his mama's teat, then this is the route for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is talking all about burial ground. J. Alison, James Kline. What's happening, Alison? How was your stay at this mansion?
Fantastic, man. Like this, I really feel like, with our movie last week and the movie this week, especially this movie this week, we're really taking off now.
Oh,
this was great. I love this.
This is a very interesting movie here. You had us watch. So I never.
I love how you blame it on me. I can tell this is going to go. So all right, this is going to be a fun show.
So
I'm kind of interested to know what you think about this movie because you've never seen it before, right?
No, I never seen this film glory over here. Okay. So me and you love our Italian films. Those are always
we
great.
Do.
I like the way they do the filming style. You know what I mean? I like the they have a lot of good colors to them. It's just filmed really nice. They have a lot of cool areas to film in. A lot of good background stuff. So, this one wasn't, the most highest budget Italian film we've ever seen.
No, even for Italian movies, I don't think this had a very high budget.
Yeah. And obviously this one is, going off the huge success that we've seen from, a Day of the Dead and Zombi 2 and all that stuff. But the storyline, if there was one, of the 20-year-old kid and his mommy was definitely something I wasn't expecting, but I loved it. Okay.
I was about to say, I'm not really sure there was much of a story. Like, do they even tell us who any of these people are?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I got their names.
Well, okay. I think that's the bare minimum for a plot of a movie is that the characters have names. But what I'm saying is, like, all we know is that they're two couples that are there on vacation, right? That's the only thing we know.
Well, yeah, there's
with
like
their kid.
Yeah, there's the couples in there. There's couples there. They're checking on this professor. I'm not sure what they were talking with the professor about. Maybe they're all like.
Well, I thought they just knew the professor, and that's why they were going there on vacation because he's there. Studying the Etruscan stuff or whatever it was, so that they could, and that's what caused them the mixed up zombies to come back.
I mean, let's just be honest. You got all these fucking foreign Italian people. They got invited to a rich ass mansion to have some sex around there. That's what their sole purpose was. All right.
And honestly, all we want to see is zombies eating people, and we got that in this movie,
bro. First of all, there is something. We'll break it down more when we do the full review. But I think I saw the most metal thing I've almost ever seen in a movie before watching this movie, and that was the zombie with the Russian sickle chopping off the fucking maid's head.
Yeah, that shit was cool, dude. Like those zombies in the robes and shit looked awesome. Like that should be like some metal shit right there.
That's pretty wild, man. So
yeah, like that. Like these could be like, costumes for like Ghost or something on their next tour.
It could be. Everything looked really nice. And I did like the casual walking zombies. It looked like they're all getting in line for Starbucks or something. I liked it. Uh-huh. So we'll talk all about that when we do our full breakdown of the movie. But this one was it was really fun. You know what I mean? You could tell that they were trying to grab the success of the zombie franchise, and this is actually once we do the Who Booked This Shit, there's a lot of alternative titles with this film too, which is kind of fun. I like it when they just have multiple titles. But, like we do every Retro Blood, let's get into the history segment, because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this movie. So, the history segment is going to be a little different this week. I didn't really get a for sure release date in Europe for this movie. It was released in 1981. I found the American release date, but that was like 1986.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, did you find one? Which one did you find?
Hold on, let me look it up again because I don't have it pulled up right now.
Yeah, because I didn't get a direct release date when I looked up for it. I saw this one that was it said it was released in the U.S. February 27th, 1986, which obviously it probably just took a while to get it dubbed and imported over here.
Well, yeah, I mean they had to buy the rights to it and then put it out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I did find a different release date, though. Let me see if I can find it again.
I did find one. Also, no, that's a different movie. The only ones I could find, it said it was released in 1981. But while you do that, I'll talk about what we're going to be talking about anyway.
Okay.
So the first thing I'll probably do is the metal side of it, because on the wrestling side, it's not related to a particular release date. I was since I only had 1981, I was kind of searching. I was like, what band have we not talked about that was pretty big in 1981? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who was rocking some of the charts there. And I found this band. We've talked about them like once before. I believe we talked about their Thundersteel album. But let's talk a little bit about the band Riot.
Okay.
Right? And their album that actually came out in 1981 that got a lot of praise was their album Fire Down Under. All right. And this album actually has some cool backstory to it a little bit. So this is actually the last album that featured the original vocalist. And by the way, since we're doing our foreign Italian films, I'm probably going to fuck up a lot of people's names. And this will be one of them. One of many names I will fuck up.
This is going to be great.
So it really had the last, this was the last album recorded from the original vocalist, Guy Speranza. I think I got that right.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, Speranza. Okay. And what's cool about this guy, Speranza guy. So he started with Riot, when they released a couple of their albums in 1975. And he worked with them all the way through 1981. And when he actually, retired and he quit the band in 1981 after that album that we're talking about today, he actually got a call from Scott Ian, all right, to offer him the position as the lead singer for Anthrax. All right. But he declined it.
Yeah.
And he was done with the music business. And then he basically retired, from the music business and worked the rest of his life as a exterminator in Florida.
All right. Well,
so he went from killing roadie pussy to killing bugs, brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty metal, right? Being an exterminator is pretty metal.
Yeah. But this guy could have been but he could have been the singer of Anthrax. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so this would have been before Neil Turbin was the singer of Anthrax, I guess.
Yeah.
So he would have been the first Anthrax singer, and then they got Neil Turbin, and they fired him, and then they got holy crap, I forgot that guy's name. The guy that's in Anthrax now with
the beard, right?
Anyway, that guy. Yeah, that guy. But yeah, so apparently this album got them dropped from the record label because it was too heavy.
Yeah. It was too heavy, brother, for us. And if you listen to it, it's not really that heavy at all. I guess for 1981 standards, it's not. I would say it was heavy, but it's fast. It actually has a lot of there's different songs within it that have the thrash melody of going kind of like pretty fast. But there is this song. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but it was. I think you got to keep in mind though, is it was recorded in 1980, so they were like ahead of their time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if the record company had just stuck with them, they might have had one of the biggest bands in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, because most of like the two opening tracks, Swords and Tequila and Fire Down Under, they're pretty fast. You know, they have the 80s singing. You know, where they hold their beat with the singing.
Yeah,
they do all that. They do the same. But when I listened to the track Feel the Same, that reminded me more of a rock and roll of like the earlier 80s and 70s, where it had a little bit more like melody to it, like a little bit more like Black Sabbath, like a little bit more slower tone to the actual rock.
Yeah.
So this album was kind of a mixture of that. It had that kind of fast, you know, British heavy metal sound, but also had like the slower rock sound to it as well. So it was kind of a good mixture that they were doing here.
Yeah, because Feel the Same was written by a different group than the first two songs. It was written by the guitar player, and then the singer and other people in the band wrote, the other guitar player and the bass player wrote the fast songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Swords and Tequila, that's a pretty metal song title. I mean, that's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah. And a couple of things, you know, apparently they dedicated one of these songs, Flashbacks, to a Neil Kay, and he was a British DJ who supported the heavy metal in the UK during the new wave of British heavy metal. So the album cover is pretty interesting. It's like I
was going to bring that up.
It's like a man's body with a sloth head on it.
I thought it was a seal.
Is it a seal? Kind of looks like a Pomeranian too.
And it does kind of look like a Pomeranian without the ears. And then it's got like fire behind him.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that's supposed to be.
It looks like some 80s photoshopping. I like it. That's what it looks like. It's pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, you know, apparently this also got a ton of remixes. So they remixed it in 1997, and there was some sort of controversial remix done with that. Then it got remixed again in 2014. Then it got remixed again in 2018. So it's constant remix of this album. But, you know, it's pretty fun. I would say, you know, this is like Riot, I would say, you know, I don't know too much about them. All right. But the stuff I've heard about them, they seem pretty fun. You know, it's kind of like one of those bands if you're on like a long, you know, road trip or whatever, you know, you can put them on, you can rock to their songs. They have a little bit of mixture. Like I said, a little bit of mixture of the heavy thrash, a little bit slower songs to them too. I would say they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're like one of those bands where they're just kind of almost forgotten. Like a lot of people don't know about Riot.
Yes.
Because you know they were like we're saying, they're kind of ahead of their time, and you know they were kind of fast for their time, and the world wasn't ready for them yet.
And they did rename the band too. It actually went from Riot to Riot V. Or is it Riot 5? It's one of the two.
I don't know. I don't know if it's Riot 5 or Riot V.
Yeah.
But yeah, they did change the name of the band.
So.
And are still together today, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, they still be rocking it out today. I'm trying to see who's the singer that they got to replace Guy with.
Yeah, according to this, Todd Michael Hall is the singer now.
Yeah.
But they've had several different singers, though.
Yeah, looks like they have had a couple
different. Keeps changing people.
So the Unleash the Fire. Oh, that was 2014. I don't know why it brought me to that one. But yeah, looks like they had several different singers throughout the time. So maybe they're rioting in their own state. But you know,
apparently they're rioting in their own lineup there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just gotta find the right mix. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, right. It only takes 45 years.
Yeah.
Find the right people.
Yeah, they'll get it. They'll get it done.
But they got it this time.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool to see that the singer was, you know, after he left, they're going to have him go to Anthrax, which would have been, you know, something interesting, a little different period of time that could have happened in. So.
Yeah, but he would have still probably been replaced by Joey Belladonna. You know what I mean? Even if he'd gone to Anthrax, he probably still would have been replaced by Joey Belladonna eventually.
Yeah. it was just meant to be, man. That's how it goes sometimes.
It was meant to be.
So before I get to the wrestling, did you ever find the release date you're looking for or no?
I did.
What was it?
So the release dates that I have are, it was released in Italy, July 9th, 1981. And I have it released in the United States, September the 5th, 1985.
Okay. So a couple different release dates. You know,
Yeah, but we'll use yours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, this month's history, I was kind of like all over the place a little bit.
All right.
Just because there's one important thing I wanted to talk about with the wrestling. But, you know, with these foreign films, you know, when it comes to release date, it's kind of hard to pick it out. And, you know, they don't all get released at the same time. Like, you can have one released in Italy at one time. You can have one released in France at a different time. You know, the U.S. will get a different release date. It's just all over the place. Because, you know, they got to buy the rights. You got to subtitle it. You got to do a bunch of stuff to get it to that particular market. But I do want to take some time on here. I know this happened last week. But, you know, shoot, brother, you know, we don't do this shit live, man. All right? You know, sometimes we got to record ahead. Because me and Alison, we got lives, man. We're too busy on the road doing shit.
Exactly.
So I do want to talk about this wrestler who passed away. It's a very, important wrestler, I think, in the landscape of professional wrestling because of all the stuff he contributed to professional wrestling. And that is one, Kevin Sullivan. Yeah,
I know. It was shocking.
It was shocking
to see him go. Although I know he'd had some health issues lately.
Yes, I've heard about those health issues too. So I got a couple stories about Kevin Sullivan that I'll talk about here. But you know, when we usually do the our wrestling report, like let's say we're talking about a wrestling show, mostly out of the Crockett era. You know, that's what I'm mostly thinking about Kevin Sullivan. You know, in the '80s, is him with the Varsity Club. Mm-hmm. You know, it was him, Mike Rotunda, Rick Steiner was in the Varsity Club too. You know, with the Letterman's jacket coming out there, and he was kind of like their head coach guy. I think we talked about I think it was in Memphis or something when he did he was doing his more dark character, you know, having people raise up from the beach and stuff. And he was having his more like darker persona, which is, new, I would say that would probably be like one of the most original characters in wrestling because he kind of brought more of like a darker cult style to professional wrestling with that particular character.
Yeah.
He did have the wrestling style, kind of like a short, stocky dude, but is also intimidating. You know, because like when you would see a guy like Kevin Sullivan and his character and stuff, he would be, like a badass character, even though he wasn't like the tallest wrestler or the biggest wrestler. He had a presence about him that made him a little bit more intimidating to the audience and different, wrestlers too.
Yeah. Yeah. He was definitely like you were saying during his cult era, he was definitely like digging into that satanic panic kind of stuff that was happening at the time.
Yeah.
Which you were getting a lot of, which we've talked a lot about on the show before. But yeah, he gave off this, without seeing him, it's hard to describe, but he also gave off this like mastermind, like vibe, kind of like you just kind of felt like he was kind of smart and in charge of all these people that were in his faction, kind of. So, it wasn't just like a situation where he was like, like you were saying, the biggest wrestler, but he was intimidating because he just seemed like he was in control of this cult.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the Ministry of Darkness, except, he wasn't big like the Undertaker. Like you believe the Undertaker could actually beat anyone.
Exactly.
And Kevin Sullivan had to achieve that a different way.
Yeah. And I was mistaken. I thought he did it in Memphis, but it was actually Florida. I should have known because of the beaches. Yeah. So he did from 1982 to about 1987. That's when he would have his Prince of Darkness character. All right. Mm-hmm. And he would do that from Championship Wrestling from Florida. And he was the heel, the Boston Battler. All right. And he started the occultist and cult leader gimmick during the time. And of course, like you were saying, it was inspired by the satanic panic going on at the time. So very clever idea to do that particular character during that time. And of course, he would bring on like people, like you were saying. He would have his army of darkness. You know, he would have Maniac Mark Lewis with him. Purple Haze, brother. That's the one that raised out from the water, I believe. Mike Davis, Bod Roop, The Lock, and of course he would have the debuting Lucifer Sean would be in his group as well too. So
that was a good team. Like I wish I could have seen some of that stuff. Most of that's not on Peacock, right? They don't have the Florida Championship stuff.
No, there's not a whole lot of Florida. I don't think there's any Florida on Peacock, to be honest with you. I know I think they have the tape rights. I think they do. I think they own the tape rights. I'm not exactly sure who owns the tape rights to Florida. I know they bought up a bunch of them, but I think there was a couple out. You know what? I'm not sure because. Yeah, I'm not sure who owns it because I know Florida was run by the Grahams, so I'm not sure. You know who, if the Grahams still own it or somebody bought it. I'm not really sure what happened to the Florida. Tape, but that would be kind of cool. Like I know I've seen clips in here and there of it, but I'm not sure if they actually own the tape library or not. So this one is kind of cool too. So basically he, when he was doing that character, obviously he would feud with big stars in Florida like Dusty Rhodes, Barry Windham, and he also had a manager, and the manager was known as the Fallen Angel. It was his valet, who would later be known as Woman, which would later be known as his wife. So.
Yep, and then Chris Benoit's wife.
And then if we jump to the 90s, Kevin Sullivan, obviously he would have be working for WCW during that time, and he would be the booker around the I think it was like middle of the 90s. Probably like 95 and 96. And he was trying to get a young, Chris Benoit, over. So he would, he booked a feud between himself and Chris Benoit. And to make it more of a storyline, he would do an angle where he would bring in his wife, his real life woman, to be, cheating on him with Chris Benoit during the storyline. And it was only supposed to be a storyline. But then, of course, it's just been known that he booked his own divorce. Because obviously they became in love with each other and stuff like that.
Yep, that seemed to be a horrible decision on Kevin Sullivan's part.
Yeah, but, according to him, sometimes he did say the marriage at that time was still rocky. So, it just depends how you look at it. He was also known for being the matchmaker, the booker, during the Monday Night War period. Right. I mean, imagine that job. Dealing with that many egos in WCW and still having them listen to you and like you, that takes a lot, especially during that time period where WCW was like really high, between like 97, 90, I would say middle of 96 to about 98. WCW is pretty hot, and during who's the man booking all the booking all the matches was Kevin Sullivan. So definitely a I think that's probably one of the most things he'll be remembered as being the main, head booker of the hottest run that WCW had. And I think when I think of Kevin Sullivan, I think of his dark persona that he had in the 80s. I think of this varsity run that he had in the later 80s. I think of the battle with Chris Benoit and the battle with Brian Pillman when he called him the Booker Man. All right. And I think
that was what I was going to bring up. Yeah, the famous Booker Man thing where he left to go to WWE right after that.
Yeah, there's supposed to be another. They were trying to get over the loose cannon character of Brian Pillman, and that was another thing that kind of got away from them too, booking too creatively, where he just like left up and left. But I also remember Alison's favorite group of all time, the Dungeon of Doom.
Oh, the Dungeon of Doom, yeah. What a classic.
The Taskmaster.
Yep.
Running the Dungeon of Doom, brother. Versus Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, so when you're talking about like during the Monday Night Wars, like I think he was the booker through some of that, but I'm pretty sure that not too long into it, Kevin Nash took over a lot of the.
I believe that happened in like '99. Like,
you think it was that late?
Yeah, it was like the end of eight. It was like, I believe so. It was like the end of 1998 or the beginning of 1999 when Nash took it over.
Okay.
But during like their hot period, like the 96 and 97, a little bit of 98, that's when Kevin Sullivan was doing. And what I mean by booking, he was like booking the matches, but obviously like the storylines and everything, that pretty much was coming from like Eric Bischoff and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But like with the actual wrestling matches and the feuds and stuff like that, I think it was like a team effort. Obviously, you probably have Eric Bischoff and Kevin Sullivan kind of both working together with obviously Hogan's input and all other guys' input. But I think Kevin Sullivan was the guy mostly doing like the matches, probably like more like the underneath matches. Having like the Dean Malenko's, the Chris Benoit's, the Eddie Guerrero's and stuff like that, and he would book the top stars too. But like, I think he was tasked with, just booking the matches for the TV show. So, and of course, later on, kind of after he got out of wrestling, I remember seeing Kevin Sullivan. I think he did like a little bit of a run with Ring of Honor. And I believe, wasn't he the guy who, he was kind of like managing Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez. Didn't he manage him for a little bit in Ring of Honor?
He might have. I don't remember that, but yeah, he might have.
Because I believe they wanted to have. Yeah, they did. He formed an alliance with the Punishment, Damian Martinez, and then which he was built him as like the second son. So I think what he was trying to do was trying to make Damian's character more evil. So
right.
So I mean, I'll just read it to you over here. So it basically was on June 24, 2016. Sullivan made a surprise appearance during a unsanctioned fight without honor match at Ring of Honor's Best in the World 16 between Steve Corino and B.J. Whitmer. Sullivan helped Whitmer win the match by striking Steve Corino's head with his signature golden spike. He then formed an alliance with Whitmer and Punishment Martinez, in which Whitmer is billed as his second son and started terrorizing Corino and his first son for not letting his evil side out. So yeah, he kind of.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So and he was trying to make like he was basically in Ring of Honor trying to make his own dark trio again. And of course, he also later on in his life joined up a lot with the MLW guys. All right, and he was on MLW's podcast. I think he would be like a special guest. I think he would talk to Saint Laurent. He would talk to him. Saint Laurent's like the booking guy of MLW, and then they would have their own podcast together where he would ask him questions about his career and everything, and we'd talk about the Monday Night Wars, his early career and everything. We also saw Kevin Sullivan on a lot of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes. He's obviously a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to pro wrestling. He was in pro wrestling for a long time. I think he had one of the most creative characters in pro wrestling, especially, during the early 80s of doing that sinister gimmick. I can't think of anybody who did a gimmick like that. Well, I guess the only guy would be I forgot his name. But there's one guy that kind of did a gimmick like that, very similar, very sinister like that before Kevin Sullivan. But I think Kevin Sullivan could put like a little bit more cult stuff into it.
Yeah, I can't think of anything before him, but I was thinking of James Mitchell. Kind of did something like that in ECW.
Yeah, that was a little bit after.
Later, that was much later, but yes.
So, but the only personal story I actually met Kevin Sullivan one time, very quickly.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was during the 2000.
Was it in the bathroom?
No, actually, I met Big E, and I met Big E coming out of the bathroom. Does that count?
Yeah, I noticed you meet a lot of people in the bathroom. You met Vinnie Paul.
No, I didn't meet him in the bathroom. No. The guy I met in the bathroom was the drummer for King Diamond.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I met him in the bathroom. But and then I met Biggie coming out of the bathroom. So I mean, Vinny Ball was kind of close. No, Vinny Ball was trying to go to the bathroom when I met him.
Right, he was trying to go to the bathroom, right? And then you were impeding his
I was impeding him.
progress.
He's fucking pissed. Get out of my way, Mark. All right. So like I was saying, so around 2014, I went out to that WrestleMania time. They always have a lot of events. If y'all, I definitely recommend if you're a wrestling fan or a new wrestling fan and stuff, try to go to WrestleMania. Not only just for WrestleMania, because not only for that, but they have a lot of events around, surrounding the whole WrestleMania week. So, in Dallas when they were doing it, we actually went, me and my girlfriend, we actually went to the second annual Wale Mania. All right.
Ooh.
And that's the one that was put on by MLW and had the rapper Wale there. They would have different wrestling guests show up. And right when I walked through the door, they had a special autographs. You just got the autographs for free. So right. I got to meet Pentagon Jr. right up front. I got to meet Taya Valkyrie. And I got to meet, what was that guy? The Drago. And I like meeting them because they were big Lucha Underground stars at the time. So I was super excited, especially meeting Pentagon Jr. He was super cool, even though he didn't really speak that well of English, but he was super cool. No. And I actually bought a shirt from him, which is cool. And then, right when I got inside, there was just people like hanging out, and I see Dave Meltzer right there. So I go talk to him for a little bit, and I didn't realize how short he was. I was like, damn, I was like giant over him. And then after I talked to Dave Meltzer, then I move over to the guy, the Saint Laurent. I talked for him a little bit, and then out of nowhere, Kevin Sullivan just walks right up, starts talking to us. Saint Laurent leaves. I talked to Kevin Sullivan for a little bit. I thank him for all the wrestling memories that I had from him and stuff, and then that was it. Yeah. So it was quick interaction, but he was really nice. A very soft-spoken guy, very nice guy to meet. He's very excited about being there at that event, doing the Wale Mania. So yeah, that's my little personal story meeting Kevin Sullivan. So
that's cool. I never got a chance to meet him, but I love meeting legendary wrestlers. I just think it's cool. Yeah. I like to thank them for their contributions to my childhood and for all the entertainment over the years, because they don't get thanked a lot. Exactly. A lot of the older guys don't.
No. And we gotta thank them. You know what I mean?
We do.
So speaking of, they did for us. So speaking of our childhood, let's get into who booked this shit. Boy, imagine, bro. If I watched this movie when I was a child, I think I would have been, I probably would have been traumatized. In a couple. I saw this
movie when I was 11 years old.
I like it.
12 years old.
There you go. There you go. You could have been young Michael in this movie.
Yeah, that's why I'm all fucked up now, probably. But I had not seen it in a very, very long time, but I do own it on Blu-ray. But my version I watched was on Tubi. But yeah, it's this movie's kind of nuts. But yeah, who booked this shit?
So Burial Ground, that was the original title. It is also known as Nights of the Terror, which is the title that we got when we watched it.
Yep.
Zombie Horror. All right. And the Zombie Dead. And apparently.
And Zombie 3.
And Zombie 3, yes. So it has all kinds of fucking titles. Pick one. Pick your choosing. Whichever one you choose. So obviously it's an Italian zombie film. Directed by Andrea Bianchi.
No, that's pretty close.
Well, what's his name then?
No, his name is. No, that is his name. His name is Andrea. It's probably Bianchi.
Bianchi, you think?
I would say it Bianchi. Bianchi. But I think in Italian it would be Bianchi, but I could be wrong.
We gotta say it very fast. Bianchi. There you go.
Bianchi. Yeah, he's most known for making Italian sex movies.
There you go.
Which you could kind of see from the way this was made.
I like it. That's all we need to know about him. He likes to make Italian sex movies, brother.
Yeah.
So he grabbed this film. And like we were saying earlier at the beginning, the reason he made it because he wanted to jump on the success.
Yes.
Of Day of the Dead, and Zombie 2. Do I got that correct?
Yep.
And, we talked about this. I think we did it during our Zombie 2 review, where we listed, like, all the alternative zombie films in Italian. There's like 1,000 of them. So this is just one of them.
So there are many, many versions. I think we talked about them, but there are many, many versions of the sequels we could have done. And in an alternate reality, in a multiverse, this would have been one of the ones we picked. But we ended up doing it a year later for Zombie Month 2.
Yeah, and then later as we go, maybe we'll pick up some of the other ones. I just want to know if this was part of the zombie timeline. Where was the voodoo magic?
Well, the voodoo magic was I kind of had that in there. It's like whatever he's doing at the beginning when he was studying the Etruscan stuff. It's not voodoo stuff, but it's like magical stuff that brings the zombies back to life.
Well, maybe this was the monk version. He was doing some monk magic.
Version, yeah.
So this film was shot in 4 weeks. All right. It was actually shot about 20 kilometers from Rome, which is kind of cool. That's why you have all these cool looking buildings and castles they were bound. So a large portion of the film's budget was used for the special effects from Gino de Russell and Rosario I can't even say this fucking name. Prastinapino.
Sure.
So, and hey, those guys, I would have hired those guys because they actually did pretty well for the time period. So what do you think? This one was 4 weeks. They probably could have done it in about, 1990 or 1980. They probably would have filmed it during there, did some editing. For low budget horror film. I thought the prosthetics and how the zombies looked, I thought they looked pretty, scary for the time. Obviously nowadays you can tell they're all in masks and shit because the mouths are not moving. But I thought it was very fun looking, at least.
Yeah, I thought it looked great. Like, especially the first zombie we see where he's got the guy with the full head mask, almost skull-looking mask. That looked really cool. This movie kind of reminded me of the Tombs of the Blind Dead movies, the ones that are directed in the 70s by Armando de Osorio. They're Spanish movies, but they're kind of like zombie movies as well, but it's about monks that are Templar Knights, I think is what they actually are, but they're wearing robes, and this kind of reminded me of that. So I'm wondering if that was maybe an influence on this movie too.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. So a couple of cool things also too about the film. So at the end, that workshop area, that was filmed at the climax of the film. That was also used for a bunch of other Italian films as well too, which is kind of cool. So it was also featured in Dario Argento's Inferno, which we did in our archives. Nice. Everybody check it out. I'm not exactly sure what scene that was in, but it was used in there. So it was also in the Luigi's Contamination film, 1980. And it was also used in Cannibal Apocalypse, 1980 as well, too. Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering if... so that wasn't a studio. That was an actual location?
So it was like a workshop set.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So it was a interior set at Des Polos Studios in Rome. So it was like a set piece. They just reused it for a bunch of different film scenes.
Yeah, so and if I'm not mistaken, Inferno was 1980 as well. So, or when this was filmed. So, yeah, this was probably the basement of the
Dos Polos
of the hotel, not the hotel, the apartment building. And Inferno. Remember when they go down in the basement?
Yes,
this is probably the basement set for that.
Yes,
and then I don't know where it is in Contamination. Yeah, but I haven't seen Contamination in years. We're gonna end up doing it on the show, Luigi Cotti's Contamination. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But they reuse sets a lot. Yeah. Even in Hollywood today, you'll see them reuse sets a lot, especially like the studio lots and things.
So I thought this is cool, and I didn't catch. I think I don't think I caught it, but I like it reading about it now. So one of the zombies is clearly wearing a Boris Karloff Frankenstein mask with extra gore and a wig added to obscure its origins. So there's a Frankenstein mask on here that was reused for this film, which is kind of cool if you catch that.
Yeah.
So, like we were saying before, it was filmed on location at a real castle. All right, so y'all could stay the night at this castle. It doesn't really tell me what castle it was. But obviously it was, it was filmed in Ville, Paris, and it was close to Rome, Italy. So, okay. And then I thought this was pretty interesting too. So at the end we get a little line from the Black Spider.
Yeah, okay. I took a screenshot of this when I watched the movie because I just thought this was so ridiculous.
Yes. So here's a little backstory of what the Black Spider is. Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay, I don't have this information, so I'm looking forward.
So it's pretty interesting. So the Black Spider was actual person, and really was a prophet. All right.
Okay.
His true identity was most likely Fernico Martel, and he foretold future events like the 2 atomic bombs being dropped on Japan, the disaster at Chernobyl, and the AIDS epidemic. Well, with startling accuracy. So he was a real, prophet guy. He actually really foreshowed all these events that I just listed. But of course, the prophecy shown in the text at the end of the film, however, is fictional, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it says, the earth shall tremble, graves shall open, they shall come among the living as messengers of death, and there shall be the nights of terror. Prophecy of the Black Spider, in which the words nights and prophecy are both misspelled.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Come on now.
Because we don't have enough time
it was
when we're making our dubbed Italian zombie movies for release in the United States to proofread our work. But
fuck that proofread, bro. Just put that shit out there. How long do you think this dubbing took? 1 day?
About 6 hours, yeah.
Boy, wait till we get to some of the lines they were saying. Holy shit.
So, because we've talked about that before, because I often wonder, like, if that's actually what they're saying in the Italian version, or if they just rewrote the lines for some reason, or if they just don't translate well. But yeah, some of these lines are pretty amazing.
So I knew this right away when I saw this. Okay. And I was like, you all ain't fooling me. Even if this is the 80s, you still all ain't fooling me. Okay. The 25-year-old Peter Bark was cast as the young boy Michael. All right. And basically why they cast him as that, because to circumvent the Italian law restricting the use of children in film scenes featuring sexual and violent content. Yeah. So they found the shortest, youngest looking 25-year-old kid, and they're like, okay, we're gonna make you like a man child saying mommy all the time, and you're gonna go for this girl's teeth. All right. Yeah. And I would be like, oh, sign me up.
Sign me up. Except you don't look like a child. But it's I mean, there's no way they could have used a child in this movie with the laws that they had in Italy with the content that's in here. But yeah, they found the strange looking 25-year-old who looked sort of like a child.
Yeah, I guess, from a distance, maybe because he was short and everything. All right, but it's
and he had a real young looking face, and I have a feeling that he had some sort of like disorder that caused him to look more childlike than he actually was. But yeah, I mean, you got to find some way around it, right? To be able to make these kind of movies that you want to make.
Yeah. So, but yeah, pretty interesting background on some of the movies on here. Like I said, the main takeaway from this film was obviously they were trying to ride the wave of the zombie hype during the early 80s.
Yeah, from Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. It's amazing though to me still that Dawn of the Dead was that popular in Italy and Europe. it was so big that these people just copied it and copied it and copied it and copied it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've known that it's been, completely copied and ripped off by Walking Dead. Like nearly every idea from Walking Dead came from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing that movie was so big in Italy that they made all of these fake sequels for it.
Yeah. And boy, are they fun. I've highly enjoyed all these rip-off sequels.
Yes. This movie, I would say, is better than, once you get down to Zombie 4 and 5, this movie's better than those.
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, it's more straight to the point. Zombie 4 and 5 was trying to do all this voodoo shit. Yeah. I did like I believe it was Zombie 3 maybe. I can't remember if it was 3 or 4. No, it was 3. Where they were getting attacked in the hotel and there just happened to be guns there.
Yes.
So I like in this one where it was like the opposite. All right, so the sex couples, they get inside, and then now the zombies are like, oh, well, we're gonna go find the guarding equipment and kill them with it.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I also like we'll get to this near the end, but I also like how once they figure out that they're zombies, every time someone gets attacked by a zombie, the other people just kind of leave them. Like they don't try to save them or anything.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh shit, fuck it. And
he's a goner. I'm out of here.
And I'm trying to think of my memory bank, but is this the first zombie movie or anything that the zombies are actually using weapons?
It's the only one I know of. I mean, I'm sure it's not the first one, but once Dawn of the Dead, or Night of the Living Dead, I guess you would say, reinvented what zombie movies were, because before that they were just like voodoo zombies.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. Like George Romero never used the word zombie ever in any of his movies. To him, they were just ghouls that came back from the dead. But then they became zombies when Day of the Dead went to Europe and became zombie. But anyway, this is the first movie I can think of where they actually use weapons, scythes and things like that.
Very interesting. Speaking of interesting, I say let's get into it. The full review of Burial Grounds.
Yeah.
Let's get it. All right. So we start off with the dude with long ass metal hair, big ass beard, digging through a cave, trying to find some burial grounds, ancient deadly magic symbols. And we later found out this guy, his name is, he's Professor Air. All right. Mm-hmm. And he's studying the secrets of the dead. Now, why would you want to do that? Study the secrets of the dead.
Well, I mean, people are interested in things.
There you go.
So, and you're interested. He's interested in.
Was he trying to become a vampire?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he's trying to become a vampire. I think he's like a kind of like an archaeologist. Like he's trying to figure out how these people died or whatever. He's just interested.
Well, he goes back to his castle. Mm-hmm. And then he says, we see some like symbols and shit. And he's always like, only I know the secret. It's incredible.
It is.
It must be. So he leaves the office. He walks all the way through his cool castle near Rome. He walks outside with a lantern outside during the light. And I guess he walks so far that he goes to a forest area. And we can see like he's around like an old theater looking place. And he goes down to a tomb. All right. Area. I like my notes. He goes down to a tomb that's very easy to get into. Like you're going there for a tour. All right. He starts hammering down. Yes. The locals can go by there. He starts hammering down. A tomb opens, and a zombie just shows up. And this is the most casual zombie I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, he looked like he was waiting for your Starbucks order. You know,
they're not really in any kind of hurry to do anything.
He just shows up all casual. Like, he walks just like you're just walking into, like, you know, a store. He's like, hey, man, you, like, woke me up. Do you need something?
Right.
So the heir starts freaking out. All right. And he's like, no, I'm your friend. I swear. And the other one, then there's another one that just eats his ass. All right.
I'm your friend.
Yeah, I'm your friend. Zombie creature guy. And then we get the title, The Knights of Terror, which I believe was the... which one was the Knights of Terror? So on here it says... Yeah, that was the United States one. Well, it was... No, it says right here, it says Burial Ground, Knights of Terror was given a limited release theatrically in the United States. So,
but it says the original title is Le Notte de Terror, which is Knights of Terror, and I believe, if I'm not an Italian speaker, as Brad Pitt would put it, but I'm pretty sure that means the Night of Terror in Italian.
Okay, so maybe it's both. I don't know. So that's what we got. We got the Knights of Terror on here. We see a car driving first person. We have George. This is when we meet George, Evelyn, and Michael. And the first time I saw Michael, I was like, it's supposed to be a kid? All right.
They did the best they could with what they had to work with.
That's true.
Keep that in mind.
So Evelyn's, complaining like, hey, this door to this fancy castle isn't opening up. I thought you got new staff. And then the gate opens. He's like, oh. So then they meet the staff. They were just taking a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we have about 3 couples. Okay, we have George and Evelyn with Evelyn's son Michael. We have Janet and Mark. All right, and we have James and we have Leslie. All right, that's our couples. They're all hanging out at this castle mansion to hang out with Professor Ayres for no real reason.
Right. Or at least no reason that they give us.
Well, the only thing I guess they were there to meet him, and the heirs was supposed to tell them what he found with his discovery of dead creatures. But, looking at half of these guys, none of these guys are scientists. Okay, half of them look like Italian porn stars.
Yeah, no, that's not what I took out of it. What I took out of it was that they were... So he was there at that tomb or at the castle where the crypt is to do research, and because he was there, they were given permission to come to the castle for like a vacation. They don't tell us any of that, but that's just what I assumed.
Yeah, or you know what it is? Maybe he owns the castle, and to pay the expensive rent, maybe he does Airbnb.
Maybe, and he just rented it to them?
Yeah, just rented it to them,
Well, you got to make ends meet somehow, right?
Exactly.
Castles aren't cheap.
So they all get into the castle. They all figure out their rooms. We see that Evelyn is putting her quote-unquote son to bed, even though the son is all freaked out during the whole time of this movie. And then we get one of my favorite scenes of this movie. We cut and we see some ass.
We do.
And some lingerie. All right. So we see Leslie. She's all dressed up in some lingerie that was apparently left here from the previous owners. Okay. And I could not believe I heard this line in this film. And I was like, okay. I was thinking to my head, okay, I don't know if this was actually written in the script or this was the dubbing saying this piece of dialogue here. But if I may.
You may.
So we have James and we have Leslie. Leslie is saying like, oh, maybe the previous owner left it here. Maybe he was like a cross-dresser or whatever. And Leslie's like to James, oh, how do you like this outfit? James like, oh, I love this outfit. Makes you look like a little whore. I love me some little whores. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, that's where we're going here? I like it. Then they start making out.
Amazing.
Bro, it's so easy in the 80s. You know what I mean? You just fucking show up to some sort of haunted Rome castle, find some lingerie, find some girl, call her a whore, good to go. No problem. Easy stuff. Okay? So they all they start making out and shit. All right? And then we have the other couple just fucking around. Okay, then we got Janet and Mark. They're all fucking in another room. And then we have Evelyn and George fucking in another room. And I was like, so this is supposed to be some sort of like orgy sex castle or something? I like it.
Well, yeah, I think this is just like all of Andrea Bianchi's other movies where he's like used to making these, movies where people have sex a lot. And he made this one where people have sex a lot.
So the supposed 15-year-old, 25-year-old Michael interrupts the sex between Evelyn and George. And he says, mommy, mommy. He sees her naked for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, why is he staring at his mom all naked? But, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, we will.
We will.
So now they all meet at the table to have some dinner, I guess. Or breakfast. I'm not sure. I guess it was breakfast because it was still during the daytime when they're about to go outside. So they're all talking about, where is Professor Air? We don't see him around anywhere. And the workers at the place, the staff, said they haven't seen him and stuff. But so now, Janet is freaking out a little bit because she's having dragon dreams of her dying in this castle. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And James is basically saying, it's just the place. Not James, but Mark is just saying, just don't waste the place. Don't worry about it. I will protect you. Golly, easy stuff. That's what you gotta do when you're in the 80s of guy. Girls freaking out. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm the man. I will protect you. Girls like, oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Easy stuff. They start making out. So the big thing is now, Janet wants to see the outside, gardens and stuff. So, and she doesn't want to stay cooped up in the house the whole time. Same thing with Michael. He doesn't want to be in the house either. So Janet and Mark, they go outside and they go take some pictures. James is going to go read his book, and Leslie will follow him to go read his book as well. Okay. And now George is going to show Evelyn the Professor Ayers' trophies, I guess. His trophy room. His artifact room, I guess.
Something like that. I think it's an artifact room, but yeah.
So while all this is happening, I called them the casual zombies because they were just walking around like, you're going to a grocery store or whatever. Just, follow suit and line and everything. The casual zombies start breaking out of their little easy to get to cave. All right. I do like how there's like a big scene of them walking and then one just shows up and he gets left behind. He's like, oh, come on, guys. I put in my house, it looks like the zombies it looks like they're going out for some coffee. In my notes too.
Yes. Very casually walking around the grounds.
So, since we have this cool castle, we do some cool shots of it. So we see it like that. So Michael's complaining. He doesn't want to stay in the house. He's freaked out about all this stuff. And they all don't see Eris. All right. And apparently, like we were saying before, they're talking about Eris and, how he's practicing on the dead. Okay. And, Janet's still complaining about her dreams at this time. So we do a couple shots. So everybody's kind of separated right now. So we see a couple shots of Janet and Mark taking pictures all around the garden. We see James reading his book. And I guess the sex from last night wasn't good enough. So now Leslie wants some more sex, but here outside now. Okay. George is trying to flirt with Evelyn in the trophy room right in front of Mike. And he shows her a gun and they shoot a gun in the trophy room. That can't be safe.
Yes. So I was a little confused about this. So it sounds like he's trying to teach her how to shoot the gun, the pistol, which he's carrying around in his pants.
Yeah.
In the room where the artifacts are, for some, like they're just shooting at things inside the room.
Yeah.
I thought this was very strange.
Well, you know,
It is Italian.
You know, we got it. Yeah, it's Italian, brother. That's what they do. They shoot things inside, not outside. You don't want to do all that. All right. So, so after he like shoots with the gun, all right, Michael is obviously is a little. He's scared. He wants to get out of there, so he acts like a little kid. His lines in this movie were basically, "Mommy, no, Mommy, no." Okay.
And you could tell that whoever's overdubbing him in English is just like trying to sound like a kid.
Yes.
We're like, Mommy, Mom. Like that's literally what it is.
So now we have Mark and we have Janet. They are done taking their pictures and now they want some sex in the woods, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is where it wasn't right here, but this is the start of, I couldn't tell when Janet was having orgasms or when she was in pain. Because they both sound the same.
Well, sometimes it's hard to tell.
And we'll get there here pretty soon. But they're sexing, right? And these zombies are coming up slowly. And eventually one zombie grabs the leg of Mark. And he freaks out. They both freak out. They can't tell what it is. They're like, "What is that thing? I don't know. It's a monster!" And then they run and they get on out of there. Okay. So while George is trying to now sex up Evelyn right in front of Mike because he don't care, he's trying to get his, zombies walk in to the storage artifact trophy room.
Yep.
And they start attacking George. He shoots them. It doesn't work. All we see is some yellow-brown blood. And eventually George gets cornered, and he is our first victim. And these zombies, they basically do the whole, "I'm going to rip out your guts" thing because they don't really have mouths. You know, they just rip out the guts. And, you know, this is also, too, when we get the zombies that actually come up from the ground, and they have maggots coming out their face, which I thought that was a pretty cool effect.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they used real maggots for this. They looked really good.
Yeah. Just imagine being under that, though. Like, I'd be like, "Well, you better put extra protection for that shit. I don't want no maggot coming into me."
I mean, honestly, getting real maggots was probably cheaper than making fake ones.
Yeah.
Because people buy them for, like, worms and things like that to feed to, like, fish and frogs and other pets. So they probably just went to a pet store and bought a bunch of them.
Yeah. So now James and Leslie, they're trying to do some sex by the water gardens.
Mm-hmm.
All right, which never really works out in medieval time. I don't know what they were thinking. So they're sexing up a little bit, and then one of the zombies comes out of a tomb. And they see him come down very slowly, and they can't really tell what's going on. These are monsters. They see it, and they run away. Leslie, she like falls down, and I thought for sure James is going to be like, "Oh, she was a whore anyway. I'm just going to leave her there." But he actually picked her up. Bro, if you'd have left her there, I would have cracked up. Okay, I was like,
that would have been hilarious. Like she was a whore anyway.
Yeah,
move on.
Move on out of here. So we see a scene of Mark and Janet. They keep running. They like to run. And this is when the this is the part where I got kind of a little confused about the actress that they picked out for Janet's dubbing role here. Okay, So Janet's foot gets caught, right?
Yeah.
And she can't move. And Mark's trying to get her out of the bear. It's kind of like a bear trap. Basically, her foot got caught in like a little bear trap. Which I don't know why you have bear traps in your gardens, water gardens. But hey, you know what? You gotta be safe out there.
Yeah, it could be bears.
So anywhere. She can't get out. Mark, he can't get it up. He can't get it out. He probably couldn't get it up either. Mark, he then so basically Janet the whole time she is screaming, but it sounds like she's having an orgasm. Like all her like screaming of her ankle, like literally guys, watch the film, right? See when her ankle hurts and stuff, close your eyes and then tell me what it sounds like. Okay? Come on now. Okay? So now Mark is fighting off the zombies there with a pitchfork, which he sucks at. He cannot. He's not a zombie killing guy. He sucks at it.
No. Well, everybody's not a master at the pitchfork.
And I don't know if you caught this,
training.
Alison, but I love this scene where like the zombie, like the pitchfork doesn't work right. It like breaks, and then there's like a zombie coming after him. And no shit, Mark guides the actor's hands towards his neck. Oh, that was, you didn't see that? He was all like fighting with him, right?
No, yeah.
He was like going back and forth, and then he literally grabs his hands and like places it onto his neck.
Yeah, well, we don't have time to do that over. We just have to go with what we got.
So then James and Leslie, they show up. They grab a bunch of rocks and they start smashing the zombies' heads with rocks, and that kind of like takes them out. And then they eventually get Janet's foot out of the bear trap, and they get on out of there. So this is when we see Michael and his mommy, Evelyn. They're trapped in this corner, and these zombies come out, and no shit, Michael's like, use the paint. I'm like, what's the paint? What the fuck is that going to do? What is this, Party City? So she uses the paint, and then she lights the paint on fire. I was like, okay, well, that's kind of creative. So then she does it for another zombie, and we can tell that if you smash the zombies over with the head, they die, or if you light them on fire, they die. And apparently they forget that a couple 40 minutes later. They forget how to do all that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So then all the surviving couples, they all meet up. All right. And because they all decide, like, we got to get out of here now, obviously. And there's a bunch of zombies near the cars, so they can't get in the cars. So they tried to go back into the mansion. Okay. There's one scene I forgot to talk about in the mansion, which was kind of funny. The two workers there. All right. Richard was one of them. I think he was the butler. And the maid girl. While the zombies were coming up from the floor, they were freaking out because the lights were breaking. I thought that was a funny scene. Just the way they were looking.
Yeah, I thought that was odd too. Like when the light bulbs were breaking for some weird, strange reason. The zombies
are coming up out of the ground house, and they have magical voodoo powers.
And that was what was causing the lights to break.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all the shaking and baking, man. Come on now.
All right, man. Whatever.
So they're up there. They all get inside the house. They all board up the windows and shit. And now the zombies are trapped outside. And we can see that it's nighttime now. And they're still boarding up all the windows. Like, it's a big castle, so they got to board up all the windows that they can find. And this is when we have one of the maids. A couple of things happened during this time. So Janet, her foot is hurting, even though she's orgasming the whole time while her foot's hurting. Maybe that's one of her kinks.
Maybe. So we don't judge people in here.
Yeah. Come on. So she's there while the maids are boarding. They want to give her some medication for it. So we have one maid. She's walking around. All right, and she's walking around. To see if there's any more doors or windows open. So she finds that there is a window that's open, okay? And she goes, no shit. This part was this kind of caught me off guard. This scene did, but I liked it. Okay, so she goes to close the window, right? And apparently the zombies in this film are also ninjas, because he fucking ninja stars her fucking hand with the piece of metal. Perfect aim, and he like smacks her hand, and her hand stuck to the window now. Okay? And then the same zombie who did the ninja starring also grabbed himself a Russian sickle, all right, and cut off the fucking maid's head. And I was like, I think that's the most metal thing I've ever seen. Right?
Yeah, it was cool. That was really cool. I love the sickle and the head chop. And it was awesome.
Yeah, and her head just falls down. Awesome. All right, and falls off and stuff, and they start eating her head. And I was like, you know what? We need more zombies with fucking tools and ninja star zombies. I like it. Good shit there. So James is now walking through the house, right? And he sees that the maid's body's still there. Apparently the maid's name was Kathleen. he sees that her head's gone, so he freaks out. And he can see the zombies eating her head down below. And I thought for sure that ninja zombie was going to throw something out of his head, but I guess the ninja zombie is too busy eating the dead head. Mm-hmm. So James is like, oh, fuck, what the hell am I going to do now? Oh, well, I guess she doesn't really need her body anymore. So he takes the body and just pushes it down. And then he closes the window. So I thought that whole scene was very fun. And he freaks out.
This was all awesome. This is when the movie got really good to me. Like, this is when it really amped up. And the zombies started using tools and acting intelligent. Yeah. Yeah,
I was like, okay. I like it so far. I like the charm of this. So they all start eating up this body. So then this motley crew of zombies, they all grab some weapons that were just randomly in this one little spot, all of them there. And I think the one walking with the Russian sickle was the most metal thing I've ever seen.
It's cool. It should be on the cover of a T-shirt, or the front of a T-shirt, or painted on the side of a van. That shit's fucking cool.
Exactly. So they walk outside, and then basically they're trying to use the weapons to cut down the door or the window. I couldn't tell if it was a door or window, one of the two. So now James is now on the top of the house, and he knows, apparently James was the zombie killing expert. Maybe he read the book or the script. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he knows how to kill the zombie because he starts shooting them off in the head. All right. And that's what he told everybody to do. But apparently Mark wasn't listening. Because we'll find out what he does later. So he's shooting a bunch of them. And then now the zombies are realizing that they're dying. So they're like, we'll just come back later. So they just walk slowly and casually away.
Yep.
After he starts shooting them down. So then we see that there's one zombie who is like, oh, I could just climb up this fucking house. And so that's what he does. So now Jenna's ankle is fucked up, and no shit, if you all watch this scene, I want you to close your eyes and listen to her scream and tell me what it sounds like. Okay?
Yeah.
She was having a fucking orgasm.
Could be pain. I was about to say, could be pain. Could be an orgasm.
No, it's orgasm. I like my notes here, but I don't know if I can say it, but it's pretty funny. So I didn't know, when I'm doing my notes, like they didn't really tell us Leslie, the girl with the lingerie, James's love interest. They didn't really tell us her name. So I just named her the whore because that's what he called her. So in my notes, but whore walks through the house to find zombies. So basically, Leslie's walking through the house to find some zombies. And she's walking around, and she eventually gets attacked by a zombie through a window. All right, and we almost had our Italian eye poke, but we didn't. Fuck, we were so close.
I know. I was really disappointed that. I didn't remember that from when I saw it originally. But yeah, I thought we were going to get our Italian eye poke, but that didn't happen because it was set up for it perfectly with the glass and him the zombie pulling her head, just like in Zombie 2. Maybe that's why they didn't do it, because they didn't want it to be exactly like Zombie 2.
Yeah. Got pretty close though. So we see that the zombie basically cut and killed her through the window, and then that zombie fell down. So it was the same zombie that was trying to climb up, I guess, got killed and he fell down. So now the Richard guy brings Janet down to some sort of classy castle room. All right, and he lights all these candles. Richard is like the butler, by the way. He lights all these candles, and he goes to the door. He's like, I don't think that door's going to hold too long. And I was like, well, why the fuck did you bring her down here then?
Right. Well, I mean, they're desperate. They got to go someplace.
So Janet's like, hey, go get Mark and James. And Richard's like, okay, I want to go get them. So now Janet is stuck in this room. And zombies break through, and she's doing her same thing where I can't really tell if she's screaming or if she's like excited. Okay, so now they come attack. She attacks one of them. All right, and she's getting cornered. Well, she grabs like a stabbing weapon. I guess it's one of the many heirs is trophies. And she's stabbing one. And then this is when we have Mark and James come in, and then they start attacking the zombies too to get them away. All right, and this is when Evelyn is like super pissed off, so she starts chopping one of their heads down. Like she grabs like a Jason machete knife and starts chopping these zombie heads down because one of them was going after her son. Because you could tell like she's very like obviously she's trying to protect her son there.
Oh yes, she's very protective of her son, as we will see a little later.
So now all the crew who's left alive realizes, okay, well, not only do we have to board up these windows and stuff, the rest of the windows, but we also have to border up the doors within the house as well too. So then, so the first thing I put is, they're going to go board up all the doors, and Janet is still orgasming. Maybe zombies turn her on. We don't know. Maybe she had those dreams about him, those dragon dreams about him. So, okay. So how do I explain this scene? Okay, let's see. This is gonna be a new one. So Michael, the son, all right, is a little freaked out, and he is over with his mom, Evelyn. They are sitting down at the very fancy castle seat. Okay. Yeah. And they start kissing, like on the cheek. Okay, so he kisses one cheek, two cheeks. That's a very Italian thing to do, when he kissed the two cheeks. Right. And then he goes into for a full kiss. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I've seen some, Europeans do a full kiss for, when they're related and shit. And then this guy just starts grabbing her tit. And I was like, well, hold on a second here.
Hold on.
I was like, all right.
Hold the phone.
And then he goes for the fucking what area. The pissy, brother. It's like, oh, okay. Well, this is, wait a minute.
What is going on
Am I watching one of them backdoor porn sites in here and shit? Mommy love. And then he's all explaining, I just want to suckle on your breast because that's what I did as a kid to calm me down. I was like, okay. And then the mom was like, no, get away. We can't do this, Michael. And then Michael gets all upset and he runs away because he didn't get a sucky on the titty. All right. So
none of this is ever explained why this is happening.
Well, it's because he's nervous, and Michael is I guess he was so nurtured as a kid that he only has affection for his mom's teat.
That is absolutely not an explanation for this, but okay.
He only wants love from his mom's teat. Okay. So he runs away, and he runs into dead zombie Leslie. Now, so she gets up and stands up, and she is, she's a freshly turned zombie. So this one is kind of like the Walking Dead universe, where if you die, you have the zombie virus gene in you. Okay. Yeah. So, and like I was thinking about this one because, when I can get the thing where if a zombie bites you, you can turn into a zombie. But I don't remember the window smashing zombie like biting any parts of Leslie. He only just killed her by the window. So I'm guessing in this zombie universe, unless they forgot, you can, if you die, you can, turn into a zombie. So unless the zombie bit her face for a second, I don't know. But basically, we see that Michael doesn't know what to do. He's just standing there still, and Leslie goes after him. Okay, so now the mom, all right, is trying to look. Evelyn, she's trying to look for her son. Okay, Janet is she's freaking out again. Okay, and Mark and James they want to figure out maybe if they can find a way out of the house, out of the castle, to trying to find somewhere else. Like, even if because they're walking around. And they see that there's blood by that window that Leslie was by. Okay. And then this is when we see that Evelyn she's trying to find Michael, and she walks in a room, I guess it's a restroom, to find Leslie eating Michael's arm. This is another cool scene. Because she's just sitting there like chowing down on his fucking arm. And Evelyn comes in there freaking out. All right. And she's, her son's died. She's like freaking out. She starts freaking out on Leslie, saying, "You killed him. You killed my son." She basically shakes her to death. Well, kind of. By smashing her head.
Yeah.
Smashing her head against the tub.
On the tub.
Yeah. And we see some sort of red, white blood mixture on there.
Right.
So she's holding Michael, all right, and now Michael is basically, he's dead, all right, and the others, hear her, and they're trying to they get down the staircase, and they kind of run into her, like they're getting down to run away, and they kind of run in to Evelyn, and Evelyn tells her, like, "Hey, he's dead. My son's dead." And they go look into that room, and they could see that there's a dead Leslie and a dead Michael's body there. And James comes back, and he's all like, "Okay, they're both dead." And they're like, "Okay, well, we got to get out of here now, because our idea for boarding up the castle is not even going to work either. We got to find a way to get out of here." So what they plan is, Mark wants Richard to go down to the basement and grab some guns. All right.
Right.
So Richard, the pawn, the butler, runs down to the basement area, and he just so happens to run into Professor Air. And of course, Air is now a zombie, and now he starts killing Richard. All right. So they get outside now. All right. The couples that are left, and Air is now eating the flesh of Richard. All right. James and Mark now see that Richard is dead through Air's being a zombie. And so they get on out of there, and they get out and they run outside. And then they can see that they're staying now in an abandoned area. Okay.
Yes.
So it's like it's kind of like I'm not really sure what this area was. Maybe like a little lodge with the ceiling that came down. So Janet doesn't want to do anything anymore.
Sure.
Yeah, man, that's kind of what it looked like. Janet doesn't want to do anything anymore. She just wants to be left alone and die. But it's like, nope, we're going to take you anyway. So we have, basically we have James is taking care of Evelyn, and Mark is taking care of Janet to kind of help them, get to this crazy stuff. And they basically have to walk. They're walking to the forest area now because they have to keep being on the move. And they see from a distance, they see a monk. All right, and they're like, oh, okay, let's go to that church over there. So they get inside the church. They start all, relaxing a little bit. And now James, I guess James is the curious one. So he starts looking around. And he basically goes to the monk praying ceremony room where they're all like on a table. And he sees he walks in there. It's like, hey, can I get some help? And this is when we can see that all the monks have turned into crazy zombie voodoo magic monk dead creatures. Wow.
Yeah, and then he just freaks out.
Then he starts freaking out. Oh, shit, what the fuck? Ah. And then he was about to leave, but then some more monk zombies corner him, and then they start eating up James. And then Mark and the crew hear it, and I thought they heard it and they were just going to leave, right? But no, they heard it and they walked towards him. That didn't work out. Okay. So they walk towards, and they open up the door, and they can see James is getting eaten alive. And so they all run out of there, and they run away from the church, and they get on out of the church. And now they found some sort of builder's workshop, which is the one that we're telling that was used in multiple movies. So they go into this builder's workshop. They close the gate. They find some sort of statue thing that's on wheels. So they pop it open to the door to keep all the zombies out. They're about to go up the stairs, and out pops a zombie. All right, so Mark has to think on his feet. He has Janet and Evelyn hold the statue that with wheels on it and gets the door because there's some more zombies at the door. And he decides to fight this one lonesome zombie, and boy, does he suck at it. I mean, we learned you can light the zombie on fire, you can kill it by its head, but he can't. He starts hitting it on the shoulder. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, he just completely panics. He just does not remember everything we learned earlier in this movie.
I like my notes here. So the zombie falls and Janet starts orgasming again. Maybe it turns her on, the zombie fights, you know? It turns her on a little bit. So now all this panic is happening. And they're about to go up the stairs, Janet, Evelyn, all them. Until zombie Michael shows up. Evelyn is overjoyed to see her son. She runs up to him, gives him a hug, saying, "Oh, my son, you come back to me, my son."
Suck on my boob.
The zombie Michael goes in for the tit. And she's like, "Oh, yes, you can suck it. Don't worry about it. It's just like when you were younger. I can nurture you." And then he goes in for the tit and he bites the shit out of that thing. Rips it all off, brother.
And just rips it completely off. Yeah.
Now, Alison, we watched many horror movies. Have you seen Death by Titty before?
No, this is the first time, at least on this show, that we've had death by titty.
Okay. So I was like, okay, there you go. So Michael Zombie is now eating his mom.
Yeah.
It's pretty creepy. Janet and Mark are like basically like, what the hell's going on here? All right. So now they try to escape a little bit, but while they try to do that, the zombies broke through the gate, and they just moved the statue out of the way because they can do that. And now they're trapped from both corners. Janet and Mark are trapped from both corners. All right. So now we can see that more zombies are coming in. James even comes in too. He's a zombie now. And he starts eating Evelyn's face. All right. And we can see that get trapped. Mark eventually gets overwhelmed. He starts getting eaten up. And now Janet is getting cornered. And she is finally not orgasming. She's not having an orgasm anymore. She's actually really screaming this time. Okay?
Right.
So the zombies ended up grabbing her. And this is when we get the prophet. And like we said before, from the black spider. While these zombie hands are gouging up Janet's face, the earth shall tremble, grave shall open, they shall come among the living as messengers of death, and there shall be the nights of terror. And then we end the movie.
Yeah. So everyone dies,
Yes.
which I think really is how zombie movies should end. I don't like this lone survivor zombie idea. Like The Walking Dead has a lot, where they're all like, "Oh, we're surviving." Like the zombies should kill everyone. Just like in, well, all the movies really, like all the classic zombie movies. I think everyone dies.
Yeah.
Maybe not Day of the Dead. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out, I guess. So, but yeah, I mean, this one was it was fun. I would say it
was fun. Yes.
The relationships between the characters was a lot of fun too, because it was wacky, but it was like a fun wacky.
Yes.
And the Michael and his mom was definitely a very interesting relationship that I did not see coming. Most of the time, us Americans watch that and like, oh, they're just foreign. I guess. I don't know.
They're just foreign. And in foreign countries, moms and sons have sex and fuck all the time. That's fine.
But, I always like watching these Italian horror films. I think the Italian horror films are like probably some of the most creative horror films.
Yes. Yes.
Even if the story isn't there all the time, they definitely have the very fun backgrounds, and they definitely have very fun, like, mid storylines. The relationship to the characters are always pretty fun, and I always try to look out for some eye gouging. That's what I like to see.
Yeah. I mean, I love Italian horror films and Spanish horror films too, but Italian horror films are my favorite. I I don't know why. Well, I mean, for all the reasons you just mentioned, like I just love the way they look. I love the way they feel. They're kind of, you can tell they're influenced by American horror movies, but they have this like, you know, kind of odd European feel to them. This was another one of those movies that I rented at the video store in 1986 when nothing else was in. And I feel like some people, when I tell that story, which I've told on the show many times, but feel like that, you know, I was saying that when I was a child, I was like some connoisseur of Italian horror movies, but this was just all that wasn't checked out. I would have much rather have rented Top Gun or, you know, whatever the new big release, Hollywood release was, but those movies were always checked out. So I was stuck, you know, renting Italian horror movies like Cannibal Holocaust and Burial Ground, things like that. Zombie 2.
Hey,
but I learned to love them. I learned to love those movies, man. And I'm glad I did, because it really opened up my education on horror films.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
You see some dead creatures ripping out faces and titties. It'll definitely open up your mind.
All the intestines in this movie looked really good, too.
Yeah.
And it had that really bright Italian blood that we get in everything.
Yeah, the very bright
awesome.
blood, yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody, join us here next week on The Retro Blood as we finish up From the Graves Month Part 2 with probably one of the most famous zombie horror films of all time, Dawn of the Dead.
Nope, Day of the Dead.
Is it Day of the Dead? Fuck, I always get it wrong.
Yeah. We did Dawn of the Dead last year.
It'd be Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead, yes.
Can't wait to watch that one. That should be very fun.
Have you never seen it?
I've seen it before. It's been a while.
Oh, okay.
And it's very fun because it also has that 2004 remake, which is also pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll be doing I believe it was 1985 version.
Sounds about right.
Of Day of the Dead. So, and then of course on that episode we will tell you what our plans are for September. That's gonna be a pretty fun month as well too. We got a lot of feedback of different shows that you all out there have requested. And we have picked a listener's request for that month as well, too. So we'll talk all about that on next week's episode. Check us out. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube page, all that stuff. Give us a like. Like us on there. Follow us, message us. Tell us we suck. Tell us we're doing good. Recommend any movies that we might not, you know, recommend some months, some movies. Just, you know, whatever y'all want to do on there.
Whatever you guys want to say, yeah.
We love hearing from all of y'all. We always try to message you back as quickly as we can. But we love hearing all the feedback from everybody as well, too. So, but I think we'll play on the Facebook page. We'll play some Riot on there. How about Don't Bring Me Down? All
okay.
Right?
Don't bring me down.
Because, you know, when you're getting attacked by some zombies, you know, don't bring yourself down. Just start orgasming, and you'll feel fine, like our girl Janet did. You know what I mean? You gotta
exactly.
You gotta feel good. You gotta have your little kinks, or you're getting attacked by deadly flesh-eating, zombie melted maggot creatures. So, but everybody, hope you enjoyed this episode. We will see you next week on the Retro Blood. Alison, James Kline. See you all later.
See you guys.